Welcome, everybody, to Hotel Lobby Live. Really appreciate you being here today. I'm Chip Rogers, President and CEO of the American Hotel and Lodging Association. We have a fantastic lineup for you today. Some very special guests that are joining me for this particular program. I'm going to get a really good insight as to what's happening inside our nation's capital as members of Congress continue to meet, and a lot of activity in and around helping the country to recover from the pandemic. So my guests today, there you see them on your screen, all lovely smiling faces. We'll start with ladies first. One of my dear friends, Lynette Montoya, who's President and CEO of the Latino Hotel Association. We thank her for being here. Walter Barella, Principal at Peak Hospitality, who is also a board member of AHLA. And then a little bit later in the program, United States Senator Ben Ray Lujan, a Democrat from New Mexico, who I know Lynette has known for a very long time, and he'll be joining us as well. So we're really excited about that, and we thank everybody for being part of what we're doing today. We're going to talk a lot about how our associations are working together with respect to Latino Hotel Association and AHLA, and how being together makes all of us a lot more effective. In addition to that, we're going to talk about where our industry is, what other help is needed, and how this American Jobs Plan will impact the hotel industry. So a lot to cover today. I'm going to go ahead and do the introduction for Senator Lujan before he joins us here in just a minute. So we'll get this out of the way, but it's important stuff. I'm very lucky to have him. He has long been a champion of small business. And he will share with us what's, of course, happening in Washington, D.C. and how that might impact our industry. Senator Lujan was first elected to Congress back in 2008. He's New Mexico's newest United States Senator, being elected to the U.S. Senate in 2020. He has spent his career focused on working access across the aisle to get things done for both the people of New Mexico and, of course, the United States of America. He serves on 5 committees, including the Committee on Commerce, Science, and Transportation. But before we get to him in just a few minutes, we want to welcome Walter Barella, who, of course, as I mentioned, is the principal at Peak Hotels based in Albuquerque, New Mexico. He serves both on the Latino Hotel Association board and on the AHLA board of directors. And also want to introduce, as I mentioned a moment ago, my dear friend Lynette Montoya, who I have known for many, many years and worked on many issues with her. So excited to have this relationship with Lynette and the LHA along with AHLA. Lynette, of course, is the president and CEO of the Latino Hotel Association and spent more than 20 years as a hotel broker and knows our industry inside and out. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Lynette first, and then we'll get into our questions. Lynette?
Great. Thank you so much for helping us achieve this moment today. Since we met in 2015, Chip, your leadership has proved to be steadfast. This affiliation with AHLA has just been greatly beneficial to the Latino Hotel Association. And today we want to thank our sponsors, our webinar sponsors, I should say, Hilton, G6, and Marriott International. We wouldn't be able to do this event today without their help and their sponsorship. So a huge thank you to all of them. And I look forward to our next events. We have a lot of opportunity moving forward. I also wanted to just say that this affiliation has just given us this great opportunity to further our programming, and especially during COVID. We continue to share our goals with you to promote Latino hotel ownership and advancing Latinos working in our industry. And we, with AHLA, have had greater visibility and influence, and this has helped the association have a voice at the table with our industry top leaders. Thank you again for helping us with our conference in October. That was great, and people are still viewing that event, and we really think that that was hugely beneficial to our association. You've also helped us step out of our boundaries today. We're looking at an advocacy piece today because we are going to be meeting with U.S. Senator Ben Ray Lujan. This is not something that we've really had the capacity to do. So we thank you for providing that platform for us to have this conversation with our Senator Ben Ray Lujan. And as we move forward, having more conversations and having more of an influence and helping better our industry. And without your team, we wouldn't be able to make this happen. So thank you so much, Chip, and thank you to all at AHLA.
Well, thank you, Lynette. You mentioned those sponsors a moment ago, and oftentimes we think we take sponsors for granted. We say, oh, that's nice that they're helping support, but just think about what our industry has gone through over the last 15 months and recognize that these sponsors that you just mentioned a moment ago, Hilton, Marriott, and G6, have stepped up to the plate to support all of us during the most difficult times, difficult for them, difficult for us. And so I always urge people to remember who is investing in your industry, remember who your friends are during the toughest times, and these folks are certainly our friends. And speaking of friendships, Lynette, you really pointed out something, about what we do on advocacy that I think is so critical and it's been highlighted over the last year. Advocacy it's not easy. It's simple, but it's not easy. And what I mean by that, it's simple that you build relationships, you open as many doors as you can, and then you tell your story, which is what we do. And as a hospitality family united with LHA and AHLA working together, we're able to open up more doors, we're able to build more relationships, and we're able to tell a better and more complete story. So I want to thank you for your participation, all that you've done, and this working relationship has been fantastic because it's helping all of us. It's helping every single person that touches the hotel industry. And so, again, thanks for doing that. And everybody that's watching us today, just keep those things in mind. Boy, when we work together, we're so much stronger and so much more effective. Speaking of working together, I want to bring Walter in here. Walter, you've, as someone who's been in this industry for a long time, working on the front lines, you've seen what we've gone through over the last 16 months. And I'm certain, like all of us, there were times, particularly last year, where you probably said to yourself, I don't know if we're going to make it. As we sit here in the middle of April, the later stages of April, what do you see for the industry? How are you feeling now compared to last year, and where are we headed?
Well, that's a good question. So last year about this time, we were closing down a hotel in Colorado. Here in New Mexico, we were told that we couldn't do more than 25% occupancy. And as you know, hotels need to be at about 50, 60% just to break even. So 25% is just a slow bleeding death. Luckily, the PPPs came to our rescue, as well as the disaster relief loans and what have you. And as far as the outlook from our perspective, I probably wouldn't be in the hotel industry if I wasn't optimist. So I do see it returning. In smaller communities, like we have some Comfort Inn, like TRC, New Mexico, and the outer line areas, that business is coming back quite quickly. Even in Albuquerque, our larger properties, the business is starting to come back. So I think the outlook is good, so long as we keep vaccinating people and we move closer and closer to herd immunity. I feel very optimistic that we're going to get back.
Yeah, tell us a little bit more about your experience with I think you pointed it out there, a place like Albuquerque, big town, big city. What was happening there, and maybe the city center properties, as opposed to the outlying properties? What you've witnessed and felt over the last year and a half?
Well, the scary thing is convention hotels, like larger convention properties. They actually, a couple of them actually shut down because all the group business shut down, all the corporate business shut down, corporate travel. So we had some close their doors temporarily. They're going to have the longest road to recovery, right? Since normally conventions book a year, 2, 3 years out. So that's a good indicator. We're talking about probably a 36-month recovery for the larger full service properties, especially in the group and corporate market. The leisure, Comfort Inns, Hampton, Courtyards, those kind of properties that have a larger leisure market, we're seeing the return of that business quickly. People are having cabin fever and they just want to go for a ride and sleep someplace else, which we're very thankful for.
it is always good to change the environment around you on a somewhat regular basis. And going to a hotel is the single best thing you can do. There's no question about that.
Yeah.
Lynette, I want to bring you in here, and then and also Walter, it's really a question for both of you. You know, what's interesting as we've seen this reopening, what we're hearing from a lot of people is, you know, so many of our associates, our team members left the industry, and they're not coming back for a multitude of reasons. Either they found something else to do, or, you know, it actually pays them more to be on unemployment, which is really unfortunate. But are you seeing labor shortages in your markets, Walter? And Lynette, are you hearing it from your members about some of the challenges in finding enough workers at this time?
Yeah, that seems to be the biggest issue. Rita Santillanes, one of our owners in the Pacific Northwest, she said they had to shut down their reservation system because they just could not handle the capacity. And she's never seen anything like this in 30 years. And Carlos Rodriguez out of Florida, basically the same thing. And Brian Resendez as a hotel broker, you know, he's talking to these owners, and, you know, they just don't have the employees. They're not coming back. And it's a very difficult time for them.
Walter, what's your experience been?
Yeah, it's very hard. We have openings in every single hotel. And I read an article this morning in the Albuquerque Journal about restaurateurs. They were interviewing them, and they all kind of feel like not only are they competing in the job market, but they feel like they're competing with unemployment. You know, with the federal added federal funds unemployment, they are making more staying at home. So something has to give there. You know, the stipend was awesome, but it also held up another month of people looking for jobs. You did see some people leave the industry and shift to under other industries, but we're having job fairs here. I know a lot of restaurants are offering signing bonuses, so it's just something that you just kind of have to deal with, just like 2020, and keep doing our best. But yeah, it's frustrating. I mean, you see restaurants that have closed signs because they don't have employees.
Yeah.
So
that is, you know, it's so sad that a year ago we're sitting here and we're just begging for people to show up in the door to stay at the hotel, and because they weren't, so many employees had to be let go. And now people are showing up wanting to stay at the hotel, and those employees are gone. And so it's like we've gone from one extreme to the other. And I don't know how you navigate it, but I think one thing is for certain: the industry is still in a phase of initial recovery, and it's going to take quite some time. And Walter, I'd love to hear, before Senator Lujan joins us here in just a moment, what are some of the pain points that you're still feeling, and how are you processing through this as we are at the very beginning stages of what I see as a recovery?
Well, employees, that's the hardest. I mean, we have some poor managers that probably are on the brink of burnout because they've been having to cover shifts. We've had to use whatever managers we have in sales offices like that cover shifts. You know, the great thing about hospitable people is they do jump in and they help out wherever they can. And that's a great thing about hospitality people. They really are have a one for all type of mentality, but we're burning them out. We really need to find employees. So that's number one. You know, I'm back to having coffee, and if I see a great employee, asking if they have a brother or sister. And actually, I did that just last week. You know, this one server is great. Hey, you have a brother or sister looking for a job? I do. We hired them. So, you know, it's just, you got to do what you got to do. We did take the time to, since we were closed down, to go ahead and fulfill our PIP obligations. So we've been working quickly to fulfill all our PIP obligations. So we've been very busy also sprucing up our hotels as well. So
yeah, that's the, you know, I've been traveling throughout, and what's interesting is that I noticed a lot of the airports have done the exact same thing. They really gone out of their way to make things all nice and shiny and clean. And then at the airport that I use probably the most, the world's busiest airport in Atlanta, they opened up an entire new wing of security to check people through it. I'm like, that was a really good use of time during the pandemic when no one was there, is to build this new wing. So that's been great. Well, I see we have our special guest with us, Senator Lujan. I won't go over your whole bio because we already did that. We already told everybody listening that you are the best senator in Washington, D.C. So we got that part taken care of. But we really want to thank you for joining us today. And thank you that all you've done during your time in Congress and now your short time in the U.S. Senate to help our industry, to help small businesses, and to work across party lines to get things done, which I think, frankly, 95% of Americans, that's what they care about most, is let's just get some stuff done. So we want to thank you for always having that viewpoint of getting things done. Tell us, first of all, you were a House member for a long time, and you probably, as with any legislative body, there's always a little House versus Senate tension. And now you're in the Senate. What is that like? And is the Senate as bad as you thought it was going to be?
Well, Chip, first, good to be with you and with all the members of AHLA. And Lynette, it's good to see you today as well. Lynette and I ran into each other at a grocery store not long ago. And she said, look, we had Senator Chris Coons on and we're hoping we can get you on. And I said, well, Lynette, I don't know why we haven't done it already, but let's get signed up. So I want to thank her for the work that she's doing on behalf of the organization. She's a good friend. She's a trusted friend, and she gets things done as well. And Chip, look, I don't know that I agree with the premise of the question where is it as bad as I thought it was going to be? It's really incredibly special to get a chance to meet the other 99 United States senators. I never imagined I'd have an opportunity to have this responsibility and getting a chance to know everyone. Look, one of the pieces of advice the Senator Udall gave me when I was first elected to the Senate is get to know the other 99 senators. You may not agree on everything. You may disagree on most things, but you're going to find something you can work on. And I just appreciate every one of the senators that has given me a chance to get to know them and to work with them. So many pieces of legislation that we've already authored, bipartisan pieces of legislation that I believe have a very good chance of turning into law. And look, the experience that I have coming from the House to the Senate, Chip, there's one thing that holds true. You can get so much done when you treat people with respect and dignity. And I think that civility that we know often escapes conversations, even when we disagree, it's not personal. And we need to make sure that we don't make it personal, that we find a way to get together like former senators that were so accomplished in helping the American people that would gather after they would have disagreements, and very vocal and passionate disagreements in committee or on the Senate floor. And then they would get together, they'd have a laugh about it, they'd find a path forward and develop strong policies. And that's something that I hope that I can be a part of, and certainly aspire to do everything I can to make a positive difference for the people back in New Mexico and across the country.
Well, and we certainly appreciate and applaud that. Just because someone disagrees with you on something doesn't make them your enemy. Imagine if we treated every other relationship that way, how rough life would be. So thank you for doing that. We appreciate it. You serve on some really important committees, two of which, health and commerce, impact a lot of what happens in the travel and tourism industry. Tell us a little bit about your work on those committees and what you see maybe happening here in the short term.
Well, on the Health Committee, I'm honored to be a member of the Health, Education, Labor, and Pension Committee, and especially the work that's being done with employment, workplace safety, which I think matters very much to HLA as well, in addition to the health and retirement security work as well, which we're all, God willing, going to get to a place where that matters to us. And so the work that I'll be doing on those two subcommittees, in addition to the broad jurisdiction of the Health Committee, looking at legislation that's going to be coming before us soon, which is the American Jobs Plan, which includes broad workforce development programs and healthcare specific programs to address substance use disorder and mental health. Something that I've been working on and have learned more about and that we desperately need in New Mexico and across the country. The Commerce Committee, I'm proud to serve in a few important roles, but one working with one of our colleagues who chairs a subcommittee that matters so very much to each and every one of you, and that's Senator Jackie Rosen of Nevada, who chairs the subcommittee that has jurisdiction over tourism. In New Mexico, it's such a big part of our economy. People travel from around the world, across the United States, to come and be able to experience that canopy of stars that welcomes you at night, those sunsets and sunrises, a different canopy that's painted for you every night, and the incredible food and music and culture and traditions of our beautiful state. So I'll be working closely with Jackie on that subcommittee. And then also, I'm proud to chair a subcommittee that has responsibility over broadband media communications, and looking to see what we can do to get 100% connectivity to broadband, to fast, affordable internet across America. So those are a few of the committees to highlight. I also serve on the Budget Committee, the Agriculture Committee, and the Indian Affairs Committee. So looking at it through a domestic approach, but understanding the trade responsibilities that we have in each of those jurisdictions as well.
But I'm really excited to hear about what you mentioned on broadband. As our society moves to a work from anywhere approach, and we like to say work from hotels approach, but work from anywhere approach, broadband is absolutely critical because people work remotely now. That's life in 2021, and it's so important. So thank you for that. So President Biden is, I guess, soon celebrating his 100th day. I know it's in conjunction with 200 million people getting the vaccine, which is critically important. What's your opinion of the first 100 days? And if you were advising the president on what his message would be, both to Congress, but really to the country, what would some of the key highlights be?
I think it's important to recognize the success that we have now seen in the United States with getting vaccine in people's arms, to your point, Chip. And I certainly hope that President Biden reminds us of that. It's so important that everyone in America get vaccinated, and that we have the vaccine to get into people's arms. So that way we can defeat this vaccine, and that'll be one of the most important things we can do for our economy in the United States. That's number one. Number two, I think it's also important to recognize those that we've lost. We've lost so many people needlessly across America because of COVID-19. And had there only been this kind of seriousness and urgency to full deployment and recognition of the harm that this health pandemic could cause across America, I think that we could have saved more lives, but we should all sit back and reflect on those that we've lost. From a jobs perspective, look, the American Rescue Plan was a significant investment in families across America, building off of the three CARES packages that we've adopted, providing support for small businesses with PPP, support for working families as well. What I appreciate about the American Rescue Plan is one of the most important investments that was included there was the child tax credit. Working families across America, everyone that has children across the country that didn't qualify for that program before will now benefit from that program. And that's good for all of us. More families having more money in their pocket, taking advantage of a tax program for families with children is good for the economy. Lifting as many as 50% of the people facing poverty in New Mexico out of poverty, that's significant. I think it's going to be important to hear from President Biden on the American Jobs Plan and the Families Act as well. What can be done in the United States to modernize our infrastructure? Crumbling roads and bridges, wastewater, water systems, getting to 100% internet connectivity across America. One thing, Chip, I often question the chairs of the Federal Communication Commission with is, how is it that you can board an airplane in Los Angeles at LAX and stay connected at 30,000 feet, whether it's watching movies, television shows, getting broadcast news, or even connected to the internet, and then you land in LaGuardia or you land down at Miami International. But if you were driving on the road in those little communities, you couldn't connect. How is that possible in the United States of America? And so making sure we're making these investments with, whether it's on the ground or in space. And so I'm very much looking forward to what the president will lay out with investments in infrastructure in America that are bold, and that will also bring back more manufacturing to the United States, especially with the vulnerability that we saw with our supply chains. So job creation, economic investment, as well as health and well-being for the American people.
Great, very good point. I'm going to turn it over to Walter for the next question. Or no, I'm going to give Walter the next question. Sorry. We could ask yourself a question if you just wanted to handle it that way. That'd be easy.
Sure.
Look, even though we are now beginning to see those signs of life, where summer travels, late spring, summer travel is starting to happen, there's no question that we still need help as an industry, because even under the best case scenario, we're not talking about a full recovery in our industry until 2023. New Mexico alone, more than 25% of hotel workers remain out of work and have lost more than, those hotels have lost more than $125 million since during 2020. What's the greatest need as a small business owner who happens to be in the hospitality industry? What's your greatest need right now?
Well, I'm going to sound like a broken record, but the 25% unemployed, come on back. We need you. Everybody has help wanted signs, help needed signs. So that's most important. Obviously, vaccines in arms. The closer we get to herd immunity, the faster people will feel comfortable with traveling. Like you, Chip, I've had to continue to travel. We have hotels. I still have to get on planes. I still have to go see it for myself and what have you. So I do see that coming back. I do see people traveling again as people get more comfortable with it. Like I said, I do think that there's this pent up cabin fever, and people are going to get out there and travel. A couple things. For instance, with the infrastructure, I hope I hope for our industry, a lot of that's going to be construction crews staying with us, consultants staying with us, such as engineers and so on. So I hope we do see that in our hotels as crews start to go out across America and build. I told you in our own industry, we've taken the opportunity to do our product improvement plans, renovate our pools, renovate our lobbies, our guest rooms, and what have you. We're not the only ones. We see construction throughout. And luckily, they were all essential workers. So that's been good. But yeah, employees, number one, herd immunity, just get people to feel comfortable to travel again. Those are big things.
Absolutely. Senator Lujan, since this began, it was quite evident right out of the gate that hotels, restaurants, airlines, and theater and the arts were hit first and hit worst, because all of that kind of came to a screeching stop right out of the gate. The airlines were able to get an industry-specific assistance, as were restaurants now, independent restaurants. And of course, the Save Our Stages, we support all of that because they absolutely deserve it. Our industry has not been included in that yet, and folks like Walter and thousands of other small business owners across the country own a majority of America's hotels. They're not owned by these corporate entities. They're actually owned by small owners. And I know you understand that. But what can we do, and how can we work together in a bipartisan way to get something to help out an industry, which kind of seems to be the last industry to get some specific help, and that's the hotel industry?
Well, Chip, look, I think always creating awareness and having conversations, especially with your home state senators and representatives as well. Get to know them, work with them, make sure that they understand how you've been impacted. I think creating advocacy is one of the most important things that can be done. And that's especially what AHLA is doing now as well. But there's no more profound conversation that I can have than with a constituent when you're hearing from people from home. There's some areas that we can build from, right? With the American Rescue Plan, for example. So the accommodation and lodging destination, if you will, the tourism industry with hotels and lodging, and the food services sector, the maximum loan amount for the second draw for those loans was higher than any other industries as well, which is like 3.5 times the average monthly payroll from 19 and 20, if I'm not mistaken, instead of 2.5 times with the maximum of $2 million. That's an area that we can grow from, right? When you're looking at the impact to hotels as well. And also recently we extended the program to May 31st. And we're also looking, as May 31st is approaching, what is needed so that people that have not been able to take advantage of these programs still can. And that we also are maximizing how much of those loans can be forgiven. That's number one. Number two, programs like the Restaurant Revitalization Fund and Shuttered Venues are vital to reviving tourism and travel that powers the hotel industry. But to your point, what's needed to complement that with programs that can also be very specific to those that are responsible for helping to house people that are traveling to our states or within our states to be able to conduct business or to be able to experience more of what our states have to offer. And so those are just two particular areas that we should see how we can build from those areas and what can be done to make sure that we continue to grow support. In the end, you need to have an advocacy. It's better to have more than 60 senators in the Senate, more than half of the members in the House, more than 218 to be able to move federal policy. So power in numbers and creating more and more public support is going to be critically essential.
Well, and the good thing is that every member of Congress, House and Senate, has used our product before. They've all stayed in a hotel. And so hopefully they understand how important that is. I want to go back to both Walter and Lynette for a second and kind of hit on an issue, Senator Lujan, that we want you to know about, and I'm sure you probably do know about it, but we are in this really strange place in our industry where everything came to a screeching halt last year. So many employees had to be furloughed or let go because there simply wasn't any revenue. Many of them, because of the length of the pain, have gone on to other industries. They've moved on, and that's unfortunate for us. We wish them the very best. And now demand is starting to pop back up because of late spring break and summer. And now there's an extreme labor shortage. And I wanted Walter and Lynette to comment on this, what you're hearing from members again on how difficult this is and how it's impacting hotels from even being able to open up all of their rooms.
Yeah, so hi, Senator. Thank you so much for being here. We have board members that are from all over the U.S. and from the Pacific Northwest, we have Rita Santillanes. They opened their properties and they just didn't have the staff, so they had to shut down their reservation system. And Carlos Rodriguez, who from Florida, who has properties all over the U.S., is basically, they were facing the same scenario. They just can't get the people back to work. So that seems to be the biggest issue. The central business district hotels that usually hold conferences and such are really in a state of, let's hurry up and get everybody vaccinated so that we can start meeting and having events together. And those properties are going to obviously take a while to get back online because of the conference business. But basically, those are the issues. We know the herd immunity is huge, and we know that right now hotel owners are having difficulty finding staff. So that's what we're hearing, and it's pretty loud.
So, hey, Lynette, be sure to text me where the senator goes grocery shopping so I can introduce myself.
Got it.
So, yeah, like Lynette's saying, employees, that's our big problem. There was an article in the Journal today how a lot of restaurateurs feel like they're actually competing with the unemployment office, that a lot of their employees are making more in unemployment. I did, at coffee this morning, I did hear from a friend in the New Mexico unemployment that they are going to start mandating that people have to look for jobs. They can't just continue to renew. So that's going to be a huge help if they're telling them, hey, go look for a job, because as you drive around this city, everybody has help wanted signs available.
Senator, one of the issues that has evaded our country for, gosh, I bet since the last major reform was under President Bill Clinton is immigration reform. It certainly has an impact on our workforce. Are you seeing any opportunity to kind of break this logjam that has existed now since the early 1990s?
So the Health Committee, which I'm a member of, Chip, is working on some initiatives right now. It's working on what I would call the modernization with workforce innovation and opportunity with national apprenticeship programs as well. And I think that the title of the legislation that we are working towards is along those lines: Workforce Innovation Opportunity Act and National Apprenticeship Act. If I'm not mistaken, AHLF also recently shared some of their priorities with the Help Committee in anticipation of this legislation and this markup associated with apprenticeships, looking at retention strategies and looking at programs within the United States Department of Labor's apprenticeship programs with what can be done to be able to attract more talent, retain talent. And those are all priorities that I certainly share with me recently submitting some of the ideas as well that I have for programs in New Mexico, looking at strengthening apprenticeship programs, especially in new industries, and bolstering partnerships in higher education so apprenticeships can also earn credit for their training. I think that's something you're seeing now in New Mexico that's really innovative in different areas, is how involved our community colleges have been. So that way, when you're getting trained, we also can try to find that curriculum. So depending on what you're looking at, right, whether it's someone that's an entry-level position or someone you're looking at retaining, that you want to be able to get some more of those experiences, but also get some credit towards retaining them as well. And so these are areas that I look forward to learning from you all as well. And Lynette, make sure you connect me with Walter as well, so we can chat and I can learn from him. But looking at where those partnerships exist, so I would say whether it's legislation, Chip, like the two bills that I just listed, or it's advocacy at home to create those partnerships that will create additional channels as well, looking at modernization to programs like this, right? So what can we do to provide an economic and educational ladder for workers that recognizes the vital role where apprenticeships play, where retraining plays, and adapting a willing workforce to in-demand industries, whether it's like the hotel industry seasonally, or what you need just to have as that baseline because of the business that you always have with the movement of people. So look forward to learning from you there. And then the second piece of this is, again, looking at immigration policy and visa programs. Look, we know that we're a nation of immigrants. Immigrants have been and will continue to boost our local economy and our workforce. And so it's not just in ag or in food service or retail industries, it's in many fields: science, technology, engineering, whatever it may be. And especially being an important part of our labor workforce, especially as baby boomers retire. So by putting in smarter immigration policies and demand foreign workers can make an even greater contribution. And especially when we just step back to understand the economic benefit of what comprehensive immigration reform would mean. Remember that bipartisan deal that was passed in 2013. It was estimated to boost the average annual GDP by $700 billion, and with a total impact of about 1.4 trillion over a 10-year period or 20-year period. That is something that is missing from today's conversation around immigration reform as well, is what this means for an infusion as well, and support with a boost to the GDP in America. And so I think those are both areas that we can look for additional partnerships, but that can help address some of these challenges as well.
Yeah, I really appreciate your perspective on that. Sometimes I know those of us who from the outside look in get a little frustrated because there does seem to be some low-hanging fruit out there. One example, just a modernization of the H-2B program, where right now, every year when people go in to apply, the website crashes. And the system is such that if you're first in line, you get it. And if you're 10th in line, you don't get it. So it sometimes it depends on what kind of internet connection you have to get in, and why you wouldn't just move that to a more of a lottery system. It seems like a modern, simple way to correct a really bad problem. And I know you know all about H-2B visas, but and again on the apprenticeship, that was something that back in the 50s you used to think about people in apprentice positions, and our industry has really maximized this over the last few years, and it has been amazingly successful. I think the retention rate of the people that have gone through the AHLA apprenticeship program is like over 98%. And so these people, once they get these new skills, they want to stay because now they see they have a career, and that is so important. So thank you for your support of that. Let's close on a bright note. So the weather's getting better. I know Lynette told me a moment ago, there's a little dark there where she is in Santa Fe today, but the weather is getting better across the country. A new poll said that 61% of people plan to travel for vacation or leisure this summer. That's fantastic. Some of those people will come to New Mexico. And it is a beautiful place. So if they come to New Mexico, I want to hear from all of you, where should they go? And when they order their chili, should it be red or green? I'm going to make it easiest on the senator to let him go first so you guys don't take his answers. So Senator Lujan, where should they go, and red or green chili?
Well, some people will be traveling to New Mexico. Most should. I think the more that they experience New Mexico, the more they'll fall in love. It's not a matter of where should you go in New Mexico. It's how much time can we get you. New Mexico is where the plains hit the Rockies. You have some of the most beautiful areas to visit that look the same way that they did centuries ago, like Taos Pueblo, Chaco Canyon, where you can see some of the most profound dark skies in the world. And so to get you for a night, for a stargazer around Chaco for an overnight, or to get you down to White Sands, where you're able to sit on that sand and treat it like a mound of snow. We have Carlsbad Caverns. We have Bandelier, look, Valles Caldera. So whether you like to hike, mountain bike, you like to fish, you like science and technology with the incredible museum systems that we have, and the food. Once we get you to New Mexico, you're going to come back over and over. The cuisine is very unique. It's special. It's unlike anywhere else in the world with our culture and our music. And depending what time of year that you come to, whether you want to find some rubber duck races down in Deming, New Mexico, you want to find the whole enchilada where you can enjoy and indulge in Las Cruces, New Mexico, or the incredible arts fairs that we have. For people that like chicharrones, in New Mexico, they're a little different. They have a little more meat on them, a little more crisp, a little more texture. You can find that profound event down in Valencia County. And look, when I'm ordering red or green chip, people often laugh because it's a complex question. It's not a simple choice of one or the other. I'm generally picking both of them, but if I'm having chicken enchiladas, that's going to come with green. And I'm also going to tell folks you want to put an egg on top of that as well. If I'm having beef enchiladas, it's going to be lathered in red. If I'm going to have pizza or burgers, you're getting green. A bowl of beans, it's going to be red. And sometimes you can just sit back with a fresh tortilla and you can just dip that in a bowl of red chili until your heart is content. So you can never get enough. We put it in everything, including in hummus and in cream cheese. You will find green and red chili everywhere you go in New Mexico, and you should have it for all 3 meals.
So now I am very hungry because I've not had lunch. So thank you for that. I'm going to go to Lynette next, but I will say this, and I think I've told you this story before, Lynette. The first time I ever visited New Mexico, I fly into Albuquerque, and it just happened to be the day of the Hot Air Balloon Festival. That same day, and I'm like, wow, this place is amazing. So my first impression, and all my impressions since have all been very positive. Lynette, where should people travel when they come to New Mexico this summer?
Yeah, our senator did a beautiful job of describing everywhere to visit. I live in Santa Fe. We are very proud of our city of Santa Fe, and we invite you here. If you call me, I'll make you some red chili or green or both. We have the most beautiful hiking, the most beautiful mountains. If you come in the wintertime, we have great skiing. Come in the summertime, it's just beautiful. I think all of northern New Mexico is pretty special, and I would think the senator would agree with that. And we just, go to Taos, take a drive through the Mora Valley, and you'll just see some just beautiful landscape that you just can't experience anywhere else. The Jemez Mountains, Bandelier. We're taking my sister, who born and raised here, but she lives in LA. We're taking them to Bandelier tomorrow, and to kind of just drive around the area. So there's just so much to see. You just have to have a lot of time. As the senator says, how long can we have you? And we will show you an amazing time.
I'm not going to ask you red or green because he nailed that one. So we would, Walter, we'll go to you. One other thing, Lynette, when in Santa Fe, check out the state capitol. It's unlike any other state capitol in America. That's for sure.
That's for sure. That's for
The
sure.
largest art collection, if I'm not mistaken, Chip, of any state capital in America.
It's the what? I'm sorry?
I think we have the largest art collections. We have a curator, and that it's really like a museum. That the art in there, it's constantly being moved around and changed. So please take that in and think about it as a museum when you're visiting New Mexico.
It's such a unique building that fits in with the rest of the city, unlike many state capitals that are just these behemoth buildings that stand out. It blends in, and it's so well done. Walter, you have the last word.
Oh, sure. I get the crumbs, I see. So unfortunately, you can't see the top of our peak logo. It says unique places and unique locations. And that's New Mexico. I mean, you come for our landscape. We have 19 pueblos in New Mexico, but it's really the landscape. You have things here like Tent Rocks. There's hiking in Tent Rocks. The only other place in the world with the same type of landscape is in Egypt. You have the longest aerial tram in the world with Sandia. You have the longest aerial zip line in Angel Fire. And as Senator and Lynette have pointed out, Sky City, some things you just have to see to believe. I mean, you just don't believe it's true until you see here. New Mexican artists were heavily criticized in the 70s because of their use of pure whites and pure silvers by New Mexico art critics until they came here and they saw, no, that's really our sky. Those are really our clouds. Those are really our sunsets. New Mexico cuisine, it's not Mexican. It's New Mexican. It's a combination of Native American, Spanish from Spain, and Mexico, Guatemalan street food. And it's the blending of three. And that's so true for New Mexico across the board. I mean, one thing I'm very proud of Albuquerque, I love being Albuquerque, is we are one of the most diverse cities you'll ever see. And everybody lives in such harmony here. I mean, I graduated from Nall High School. I moved to Atlanta, Georgia, compliments of my brother. When I graduated, I had no idea what prejudice was till I got down there, because that's just not New Mexico. We really are hospitable. I mean, the Southwest is built for hoteliers. I mean, you can stay in hotels across the country, but when you stay in New Mexico, it's different because we're hospitable.
Well, this New Mexico advertisement brought to you by AHLA. Lujan, thank you so much. I know you've got to go back and vote, so we're not going to keep you from your job, but we really appreciate what you do for our industry and our country. So thank you for that. And Lynette and Walter, always wonderful to see you, and I hope to see all of you really, really soon. So thanks for being with us today. See you later. So last slide as we close out. It wouldn't be a Hotel Lobby Live without me saying sign up for Hotels Act. Senator Lujan talked about it a minute ago, and that is advocacy. Well, this is the single best way that you can do that. It's simple, it's free, it takes about 90 seconds, it's super fast. So please join up with this, hotelsact.org. That is the way that our industry communicates with elected officials. So there's nothing more important than you can do to help our industry than to do this. And then our next forum speaker series will be on May the 5th, Cinco de Mayo. And you see those who will join us. Josh Green is a really interesting fellow. He's the Lieutenant Governor of Hawaii. He also happens to be a medical doctor and has a perspective on the virus and how we're handling it, probably different than many people you've heard in the past. And of course, Nevada Attorney General Aaron Ford, who is a great friend of our industry, all of hospitality and tourism, will be joining us as well. So thanks for everything. Thank you for being part of this, and we look forward to seeing you on the next Hotel Lobby Live.